Hello, welcome back to Openly Spoken. This is a part 2 episode with Sofia Ejaz, who is a certified nervous system regulation and life coach. The part 1 episode came out on January 28th, 2025. So if you have not listened to that or watched that yet, go ahead and search back for that. I'll also link it in the caption or in the show notes below. And in this episode, we went a little bit more deeper about why nervous system regulation is important, what's possible when you lean into nervous system regulation, what it even means, like what are you physically actually doing? And it's a very informative episode. I think that nervous system regulation also really points to why some of the things that I talk about on this podcast is like sacred sexuality and bringing mindfulness to sexuality. If you've listened to those episodes before and then you listen to how the nervous system regulation is all about these like inputs of sensation and slowing down with the sensations, and that input helps your nervous system relax, I think that really illustrates why bringing mindfulness to sexuality and to your self-love is really beneficial, because your nervous system is untangling from this fight or flight response. So I thought that was very interesting. We don't talk about sexuality in this episode at all, but listening back to it, I thought that was a very interesting correlation. And in case you have not listened to part 1 before, I am going to reintroduce Sofia Ejaz to you right now. Sofia is a certified nervous system regulation coach and a life coach. She is passionate about helping individuals break free from cycles of being stuck in their head, cycles of stress, self-doubt, and overwhelm by guiding them to regulate their nervous system and silence their inner critic. Through a blend of life coaching and neurosomatic intelligence techniques, which is NSI for short, Sofia empowers her clients to cultivate self-compassion, build resilience, and experience true emotional freedom. Sofia is on a mission to help others reconnect with their bodies, expand their nervous system capacity, and step into confident self-expression. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen in healthy relationships. On this show, we talk about self-love, sexuality, relationship tips, including recovering from toxic relationships, and we also talk about learning to heal and thrive after a breakup. I'm your host, Celia Antonio, a certified sex, love, and relationship coach who supports ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships to feel deeply connected in love. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you find the show very valuable, and I would very much appreciate it if you would leave a rating and a review for the show on Apple, on Spotify, or wherever it is that you might be listening. Okay, so maybe you should repeat what you said.
So yeah, I had this coach come up to me, and she went through my whole list of I gave her a document of what I do, and what she picked out was I use nervous system regulation to help people regulate emotions. I was like, oh, I did not even realize I was doing that,
Yeah.
I always looked at it like rewiring survival patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
Yeah. To me, it makes sense because I feel like when you're regulated, you're more grounded, and then you're able to notice what emotions come up and do what you need for them, rather than being in this state of, like you said, survival mode is kind of like an emotion comes up and you just react and you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah. And you get that altitude, I feel, from this is my emotion. This is something messy that's happened. I'm reacting. I'm human. But this is me. We're not the same. And I can have distance between what's happening. And I don't need to respond reactively to it, if that makes sense. It gives you that 1 second gap, if you want to call it, where you can differentiate between those two things, and not because when I was triggered, I always used to feel like this is me again. This is my angry self again. This is my reactive self again. And I don't have any control over it. I used to feel like that. But now that I regulate, and I feel like this distance between my triggered self, it still comes on at times, and me, if you want to say. And that helps me, I think, respond much better to situations now.
Yeah, I love that, creating that distance between your triggered self and your like true self.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's yeah, what do you want to call it? True self, regulated self? Like what is that self, you
I
know?
don't know. Higher self, authentic self.
Yeah,
Authentic self. Yeah, that's a good one.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Like that
Yeah.
us authentic in that moment. And I think like that self changes too over time, right? As we keep growing and we keep getting wiser, it's like our authenticity, we could become more and more authentic, I feel, to ourselves and what we want to do. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a
That
nice one. I like
explains why, I don't know if you ever had this experience, but do you ever go on Facebook and a very old Facebook status from like 20 years ago? Yeah, 20 years ago. No, Facebook didn't exist yet 20 years ago. 15 years ago. You'll see a status from 15 years ago and you're like, oh, why did I write that? And I'm just like, delete.
That's been happening to me too recently.
Yeah.
What comes up for me is like old sad lyrics. Apparently, I was going
Yes.
through.
Oh my gosh, yes. Or any lyrics in general. And when I see that, I'm like, nobody cares about these lyrics.
Nobody knows like where I'm putting that out from. Like I would
Yeah.
just pick up this very wise line and with dot 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 dot.
Yes.
What was I doing?
That makes me so grateful that TikTok wasn't around when we were teenagers, because the younger generation, they get to see full on videos that they put up of themselves when they were teenagers. When they are in their 30s, they're going to look and be like, what was I doing? And I think that's worse than just like words that you typed.
Yep, they're only visible to me. Like they just come up for me. Nobody's gonna go into my timeline and dig out this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Yeah, but that was a phase. I felt personal, those lyrics and all.
Yes,
They were important.
they were important. Or sometimes for me, it would be like, wow, this one lyric is just so good. Let me post it. And to be honest, on my personal Instagram, I still have a lyric in there because it's my favorite lyric. And it's very related to the nervous system, actually. It's to obtain a bird's eye is to turn a blizzard to a breeze.
A blizzard to a breeze. Oh, to obtain a bird's eye. What is a bird's eye?
A bird's eye, like a bird's eye view,
Bird's
like
eye
to
view?
see
Got it. Wow.
Yeah, and that's like my all-time favorite lyric.
And that's like, that relates so well to the distance that we're talking about, right?
Yes, it does. Interesting, right?
I love that. To turn a blizzard into a breeze. It does look like that. When you're in it, it does look like a blizzard. It's a storm, and you're like, I'm in the middle of it. I don't know what's happening. I cannot, control. You cannot do anything. But if you're outside of that, it's just passing by. It's just it's just a breeze. Yeah, it's just a breeze. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
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 I love that. I need to get that song too. Oh no.
It's by Incubus, and I have to like go through the lyrics to like figure out what song it is. I think it's I Wish You Were Here.
I'm gonna search it too. Nice to know you.
Nice to know you.
I got it.
I was like, it says nice to know you in the lyrics, and I was like, okay, what lyrics come after 218? Yeah, it's Nice to Know You, and it's by Incubus. And it's on an album called Morning View, and honestly, that entire album is so, so good. Mm-hmm. They're currently touring right now, doing a like whole performance of the entire album because it turned 20 during the pandemic.
Wow.
And they like put that on hold. Yeah, the album is old. I think it came out
in...
Yeah. Did it turn 20 on the pandemic? I think it came out in 2004. But my husband and I went to one of the concerts here. And I hope that concert venue still exists because Los Angeles is currently on fire. I don't know if you've seen the news.
Oh my God, yeah, it's been horrible.
Yeah, luckily we are in a pocket of LA that is fine. Like I got myself ready to evacuate, all the supplies and stuff. And the evacuation orders on earlier in the week last week, because now it's Monday again. I don't know how that happened. The evacuation orders ended 5 miles from our neighborhood.
Wow.
So we're like, oh, me and my neighbors are texting each other, like making a plan of where we're going to go. So, but to be honest, I don't know if it's the nervous system regulation work. It probably is. I never really went into that survival mode. It's just kind of this weird feeling of, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And there's something about when you have to take the time to pack your belongings in case you need to leave on a moment's notice and you realize how little you actually need. You're like, oh, I need just a couple of clothes so I have something to wear.
Yeah.
Some food, some cat food for the cats, lots of water, and that's about it. Like, there's not much, your important documents, obviously, but it's very humbling to realize you don't need all this stuff. Even photographs, all the photographs are backed up on a hard drive, digital somewhere. And I packed the hard drive.
That's all your life. It can fit
Yeah.
in a bag, in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been thinking about those things too, but I will tell you those things later.
Yeah, so with this piece of how we just talked about creating distance, I think that speaks really well into why nervous system regulation is important. And I would love for you to speak more on that because you mentioned that was something you wanted to talk about today.
Yep. So nervous system work is something that really, really helped me first get aware that I'm in survival loops, and that give me some control, if you want to say, over my triggers. And then how can I actually distance myself from my triggers? And like, even if I'm in a triggered state, okay, yeah, it's happening, but I'm not in it. I'm outside of it, and I know I'm going to be fine. So for me, I'm somebody who grew up in a lot of dysfunction and chaos. So being stressed out was the normal. Always problem solving has been my normal. Like, if there's nothing to solve, I'm like, what the F is wrong? I need something. Give me something. Give me some
I'm
problem.
bored.
If there's no problem, I will create a problem and I will do that. Because it's a very survival pattern, right? That was my way of just making myself useful as I was growing up and feel safe. But growing up, this survival pattern and other survival patterns that I was in were actually not useful for me, and they were causing me harm, and they were very much keeping me stuck in my head and keeping me in constant fight or flight. Like, I would be exhausted and sleep for like 9 hours. I would get up and my mind would be turned on, and I would literally be solving stuff that was non-existing. There was no problem, but I would create a scenario. What would happen if this blah blah blah? Like, what the F am I doing? And I couldn't yeah, I was just stuck in that. I was just always in my mind. And I tried a lot of I think I mentioned therapy. I was trying self-help books, I was trying affirmations, I was trying whatever I could to like help me take myself off of this edge, because I knew there was something wrong. I was very reactive to at that point. Like, I didn't know how to control my emotions. I would go angry, in a heartbeat. I was just very much in survival mode all the time. And so if you are stuck in your survival pattern, especially to the point like they've become your identity, and you feel like, I am just an angry person, I am just an anxious person, I just get stressed out easily, like those patterns have kind of become your identity, and you're just very much caught up in your head. So if you're at that point, unfortunately, if you are already caught up in your head and you're not able to like calm down, rest and relax, as human beings, we need a healthy combination of, yes, getting activated using our mind, but then being able to relax and calm down and process the stress that came from that activation. And then when needed to be activated again, going back into activation, but then relaxing back again. But if you do not do that, if you're caught up in either of the two, let's say if you're caught up in that stress cycle, it turns into chronic stress, and you are cognitively overloaded already because you're up in your head all the time. And if that point you're trying to move yourself to break this pattern through more cognitive overload, let's say affirmations, or for me it was like talk therapy or CBD, it doesn't really help. Like, it for me it felt like a band-aid, but it was not really resolving my issues, because my issues were deep inside my body and my nervous system, I want to say. And cognitive work, unfortunately, does not resolve that. So for me, nervous system work is so important to break these hardwired survival patterns, because unfortunately, the modalities that we have available, not all of them, but the go-tos that people usually go to the first time or the first few times that we try are very cognitive based and they don't address the body and the nervous system. But nervous system work is actually how can we calm down the mind without using any cognitive words or cognitive input? How can we use the body and the nervous system to calm down the brain? So when it comes to nervous system, the language of the nervous system is not any language. It's not English language. It's not Spanish. It's not Urdu. It's not any of the languages. It's literally the inputs that are going into the nervous system. Like that is how it's getting all the data through the inputs, and those inputs are our vision, our balance, our internal sensations, our the sense of smell, our map in the space, our body map in the space. All of these are inputs that are going into the nervous system. But if we are very much caught up in our head, very caught up in survival patterns and fight or flight, what happens is we lose touch with the body. We lose touch with these inputs. So the inputs that are coming in are not clear. If the inputs coming in are not clear, the brain does not have eyes, of course. It cannot see that what's right in front of us. It's through these inputs that it's trying to ascertain if what's in front of us, if we are safe or not. If the input coming in are not safe, let's say the internal sensations coming in, we are stressed out. But what happens if you're stressed out? Your breathing gets shallow and you are very much up here. You don't know, you're breathing shallow. You lose sometimes even that sense of, am I hungry? Do I need the washroom? Because we're just too much here. So if that's happening, the brain does not really know, is the breathing shallow because somebody's sitting on our chest, or we're just stressed out. We are up here, we don't have the map of our foot clear. The brain does not know if our foot is in the mouth of a lion,
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't know. Is that a threat or no? It doesn't know. But if it's not getting the input, it's going to say, oh, the input is not clear, something is wrong, a threat response. And that could be stress, anxiety, lack of sleep, lack of focus, so on and so forth. And that all is happening because we're not getting clear inputs. So if we can, instead of like, let's say we are very much caught up in the head and we are stressed out, and we are like then trying to say, hey, calm down, you see everything is okay, just calm down and everything will be okay. It doesn't really work because cognitive input is not working at the time. You are too stressed out already. You really need to like go at the level of the body and give input to the nervous system so the brain can automatically go, oh, I see the foot clearly, we are safe. Our breathing is better. We are safe. Oh, we can feel the diaphragm. If you're safe. So you don't have to go and say, hey, we're safe, and try to convince and go in that tug of war or see all the things around you. Oh, you're safe. I have done those exercises too, but they really, again, they scratch the surface, but they really don't go deep. But if you can go at the level of the nervous system and don't try to convince the brain that we are safe, but show like hard evidence. Here is the foot. Here is the breathing.
Yeah.
The brain automatically can feel safe. So, and how the brain and the nervous system is working is inputs are coming in, right? And then the brain's major job is to process and determine, are we safe or not? If it feels we're not safe, if the inputs are not clear, it's gonna say we're not safe. It does not know why the inputs are not clear. It doesn't have that capacity. If the inputs are not clear, we're not safe, stress response, threat response. So that could be chronic stress, pain in the body, disease, lack of focus, lack of clarity, just being on edge, so on and so forth. All the icky behaviors that we don't want to have, most of them are coming because the nervous system is so dysregulated and our, up regulation and down regulation is so out of sync. So yeah, and then like we are stressed out, and that stressed out, like the input is not clear. We're getting an input of lack of focus, let's say, and that lack of focus output then becomes our input. So the brain is like, oh, why can we not freaking focus? What's wrong? And then the inputs are not clear, and the nervous system goes into this loop of unclear input, not safe output. The output then of not safety becomes the input, and it keeps going in this cycle over and over to the point it's like that, it feels like that's our identity, but that's really not the case. We just need to be able to like break the loop. And we do that like at the level of input, give ourselves a clearer input so the brain can process without any cognitive input. Yes, we are safe. and we get better outputs of more focus, better sleep, better productivity, less pain, so on and so forth. And then that output again becomes input, coupled with hopefully, clearer inputs. We can break this cycle, and we can like break our patterns and like retrain the nervous system to really foster true safety, authentic safety in our body, where we're not having to like convince ourselves all the time that we're safe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this. So I'm going to mirror back some things just to make sure I understand it and to like double highlight it for the people that are listening. So firstly, you're saying that this up and down regulation of like being in stress or like fight or flight, and then being in that rest and digest, like that oscillating between the two is natural and important.
Yes, exactly. We're always on a continuum of, we're always doing these things. So, on one end we have fight or flight, on the other we have rise to digest. So we're always moving between those. There's no other state.
Yeah.
So we are supposed to be modulating between those two.
Yeah.
Easily and healthily, and not getting stuck in either of them.
Okay.
That's literally like healthy nervous system regulation, if you want to say, like, that's the goal, being able to go into rest, rest and digest, then being able to like come up and get activated, and then come down to rest and digest.
So we know that when we're too activated, it becomes like chronic stress or chronic anxiety. What if we're too downregulated? Is that a thing?
Yep, that happens too. So if you go into chronic fatigue, you go into exhaustion.
Chronic fatigue. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so chronic fatigue, exhaustion. I had a shutdown. Like I think we talked about that earlier. I was in my bed for days and I had no idea what was going on. I would just get up to eat. I would listen to podcasts. I was like, okay, fine. This is my life for now. And I had no idea what was going on. But that was like my breaking point. So my stress level rose to the point that I just couldn't take more. And my body had to force a shutdown on me and put me in a down regulation.
Okay. And then another part of what you said was that our brain doesn't have eyes. Our brain is receiving messages from the outside world, whether or not we are safe, from all 5 of our senses, from sight, from taste, from touch, from smell.
Yep. And you can add
sound.
to that. Yep. And you can like add to the senses, like our internal sensations that are being
Sensations.
Yep. And the map of the body, like where we are in space, the balance part.
Yes. And I think that's an interesting one, the map of the body, where we are in space, because when we come from dysfunctional families, or even if we're just someone who has a high stress job, someone who's very ambitious and always hustling, we get used to being in the head, and then we don't really feel the rest of our body anymore. And when we come from dysfunctional families, we learn it's safe to be in the head and to not feel the body. So then we don't even really realize that we can't feel the tips of our toes.
Yeah.
And then that's adding to the nervous system going into that loop thing that you were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the loop thing as well is the brain is getting an input that it's not safe because it can't feel your toes or whatever it is. And then it's getting that input and it's like, I'm not safe. And then the output can be like heightened heartbeat or something. And then that's the output. And then that output is giving even more input that you're not safe, and it just keeps going.
Exactly. Okay. Like that. So the stress is here right now. If you're not coming down here, like if you're not doing anything to resolve and like de-stress, let's say, like through giving clearer inputs, the stress will just keep rising. So the stress in the stress bucket is rising till the point it just overflows. Because the looping is happening. The looping is happening and the stress is getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point something detrimental happens. For me, it was my shutdown. For others, it could be autoimmune disease or cancer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So shutdown, thank God. I feel like if it was a shutdown, I could handle that.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope I reflected back all of the points that you said. I think that was all of it.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we're at that part where we talked about that loop and breaking the loop and the inputs, what exactly do we do to break that loop? And like, how do we give our body an input that gives it the message that you are safe?
Amazing. I love that question. And what we're doing is we're going at the level of the input and giving it concrete data through using our drills and our tools. So let's say if we're doing a body map exercise, what we can do, like we're trying to give clear input for the map of the body in space. So I've done a few drills with you already, so you know that, but let me see if I can find. So I'm going to use this tissue. You can use a cloth too, right? So let's say if you're trying to give the brain and the nervous system clearer body map. So what you can do is literally use we're doing drills. So one of the drills is yeah.
Satin scrunchie. That feels nice.
So what we can do is not use a barrier. So I'm using a tissue. You can use cloth, you can use brush, etc., etc. And we are mapping, let's say, our hand. And if you can close eyes and not look at the hand, that's even better, because you're trying to build the map of the hand through the sensations. So if you don't look, that's even better. And we're
if
just
someone's not watching the video, can you explain what mapping a hand is? What does that mean?
Right. So the brain has a map of the body 24/7. It needs to know where we are in space, and if we are too stressed out, that map can get blurry. So through mapping, what we're trying to do is using an external object like a cloth or a brush or a tissue paper, and not using the sight to map the hand, but the sensation that comes when you're rubbing an external object on the hand. We're trying to map the hand through these sensations and just being curious and going, oh, this is what my left hand feels like. This is what my pinky finger feels like. And just giving the brain very clear data that this is what the hand feels like, that the hand is on us. It's not still attached to the body, and not having to say to the brain that we're safe. You're literally giving data so that it can feel that it's safe. It's concrete evidence for it to feel that it's safe. It doesn't have to guess what's happening. So this is one type of input training, or giving clearer inputs. Like this, we have more drills. Most of them, that are based on the body. Some of them are for vagus nerve. Some of them are for cranial nerves, that we are using to give clear inputs to the nervous system, so the brain can really see, feel that it's safe, that nothing wrong is happening. And that is how basically we are training the nervous system through giving clearer inputs using these drills.
That was nice. I was still
it was
rubbing,
nice, right?
off camera, rubbing my hand with the scrunchie.
And you cannot see, under my table, I was doing my foot waves,
Ah.
Foot waves is another drill that we do to map the foot again. So I was doing a drill under the table because it helps me feel grounded. Right now I'm activated, which is amazing, but I also want to be here. So I'm doing my drill under the table. Nobody knows, but my brain knows, yeah, we are safe.
Yeah. Yeah. These are really cool tools to have in someone's toolbox, as someone who's had sessions with you. It's an actual physical thing that you can do in a moment of distress that
exactly
helps.
Yeah. And you don't have to. The thing when we're stressed is we are stressed, and most of the times it's a cognitive overload, and we're trying to solve that stress by overthinking. So putting more cognitive overload to solve that cognitive overload, most of the time it does not work. So it's really important, in those moments of stress, to not try to solve it through cognitive overload. And I think these drills come really handy at that point, because it's not cognitive. If I'm stressed out, I'm oh, okay, I'm gonna go, we have a bag breathing exercise. I'm taking my bag, I'm breathing. And I'm doing that till I feel oh, okay, I'm out of that trigger, if you want to call. And then I can be oh, okay, what's happening? So yeah, I love these. So I have a piece on my refrigerator as well. So if I'm too stressed out and I don't know what to think, what drill to go for, if my brain is going which drill to do, or it's just blanked out, I will look at that paper. My drills are there. Let's go.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you can try that. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually do the foot mapping thing that we did in our sessions. It's the same thing we did with the hand, but with the foot, for people who are watching. I think what's also another common tool to go to, except for giving us more mental overload, is taking deep breaths. I feel like that's like universally known as I need to calm down, let me take a deep breath. And that works. However, sometimes, I don't know if you've felt this, sometimes there's so much cognitive overload that when you're taking the deep breaths, you're not really fully grounded as you're doing it. Like it doesn't help all the time because it's hard to really be present with the breath. You're just kind of, as you're breathing, you're still doing the overthinking.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's very hard to be present if you're stressed out. For me, it's very hard
Yeah.
to be because I'm triggered. I'm dissociated. Like my stressed out thing is I go into dissociation. I'm overthinking. So, and I'm very good. Like I have a fawn response. I don't remember if we talked about it. So I'm a very good people pleaser. So I can breathe deeply if you want to tell me to breathe, and I can, to get that check mark. But I'm not really here. I'm
Mm.
not. I'm not really in my body. Yeah. So for me, like the drills work really well because um, they're going at the level of the nervous system and really resetting me at that point, at that level. So it's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to check the bullet point list to see if fawn response, if we talked about it last time.
I think we did a little bit, right? The authentic, like authenticity and connection.
Do you want me to read you the rest of the takeaways? Because we read the first one and then that like set off our conversation and I was like, let me record.
Sure thing. I
Okay.
love how organic these conversations are, and like
Yeah.
whatever comes, and like that's amazing. Actually, I like to like just talk. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not good if I have to like look at the screen and like give you an answer that I have on the screen.
It's good too because, in my opinion, like it really shows that you really know this stuff. You really know this nervous system regulation topic, and you really know how to hold people through it and how to help them because you can just freely talk about it rather than needing to rely on any pre-decided questions or pre-decided notes or anything like that. So, good
Thank you.
job. You're welcome. Okay, so some of the other ones we talked about was cultural influences can significantly affect perceptions of therapy. I remember talking about that. Understanding complex trauma is crucial for healing. Shame can lead to inflammation in the nervous system. That's interesting. But this is all stuff we talked about already. So maybe this isn't helpful to read. Healthy relationships reflect our patterns back to us. Setting boundaries is a form of self-care. Yeah.
I love.
Yeah, maybe that's not helpful to read because those are all things we talked about already.
We did.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering my our last session. Yeah, it was a good one too.
So what is possible for, I guess I'll paint you a picture of like the specific person that this show is made for to then ask you what's possible for them when they lean into nervous system regulation work. So the people who I hope are listening to this are ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships, and they might have gone through a breakup a couple of months ago, and they're in that sweet spot, that little chapter of they've gone through a breakup and done they've done some healing, and they're ready to go deeper with that healing. And they do want to date, but they have the self-awareness to realize I should not be dating right now. Like there's still some stuff I want to do because she wants that long-term committed
Yeah.
partner. And she doesn't want to repeat the same toxic patterns from her past relationship.
Yeah.
So for a woman like that who's listening, what's possible for her when she leans into nervous system regulation work?
That I love that question. I feel like a lot of codependent relationships, if you want to say, they are that need for. I'm talking about myself when it comes to. So I had like this very codependent pattern, and I feel like it was emanating. It was coming because I never felt safe in my own body and my own self. So I always needed another person to like latch onto and give me safety. I feel nervous system work is really, really good to like connect to yourself, your body, your intuition. Like if you don't have intuition, if you're not connected to your body, you are then totally coming from your head when it comes to, let's say, what you want in a partner or what you need to work on yourself. It's very cognitive based. And if it is very, most of the times, if it's all mental based, it's all chase, 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 chase. But that takes you away from being here, right? Being in your body. So nervous system work is really good to connect with yourself, to feel safe in your body, and from that place to know actually what you want, right? Because if you're not safe with yourself, I don't think it's very tricky then to actually attract a healthy relationship and to feel safe in that relationship. Because if you're not safe with yourself, it's gonna be a very, for me, it was very unhealthy attachments that I was going through, and they were very coming from my cognitive mind of that checklist that I had. I got this, that, I'm good. But yeah, so yeah, like I feel safety and clarity about what we want from ourselves and the other person. I think that's something that nervous system work can really help with.
I love that. That's what we all, I think that's what every ambitious woman needs, is that safety and like feeling completely whole in herself,
Yeah.
especially if she's, wanting that long-term partnership and wants to feel as prepared as she can to go into it. Because I think it's also important to mention, like, you don't have to be 100% healed before you get into a relationship, because more of the work happens in a relationship that can't happen outside of a relationship, because the
Yeah.
relationship is a trigger.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. But I think that sense of completion in our own selves, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, like, I don't have mastery in self love. Like, I've heard people talk about, I do think self love is very important, but I don't think I'm at a place where I feel like I have really got it. But I am able to feel safe with myself now, you know? And I feel like that's like the seed I
Your
want to
cat
say
is so
can,
funny in the background.
you
Sorry.
can hear him. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I like locked him outside.
Meow. My cat's locked outside too of this room, and he was meowing earlier.
Maybe it's the cats. They want to talk.
Let's start them a podcast.
We need to have one. My cat talks. He
Yeah.
really talks. Oh my god, I should get him on a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, my boy cat
Maybe
talks a lot too. The girl one
it's
is
a
quiet.
boy thing then.
I don't
My cat
know.
is a boy too, and oh my god, he's a boy. He talks.
Maybe
It's
the
up to
testosterone makes them talkative. I don't know.
no idea. Yeah, I think what I was saying was like safety and self. I think that's the seed we need for anything. I feel like that's the
Yeah,
place I want to come from, that
definitely.
safety and self, to feel complete in myself, to love myself, like truly love yourself. You need to be able to first feel safe with yourself, right?
Yes.
And that also, like what's coming up next for me is like acceptance of where you are at right now, like that healing. I think healing is lifelong journey. We're always going to heal. We're always going to look at our flaws. We're always going to have flaws. There's no point in time where we're going to be like 100% healed, no healing required, flawless. We're not going to be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think feeling, when I say like feeling safe in yourself and with yourself, it's like that acceptance of, okay, I'm this person. I have my own flaws, but that's okay. I'm still very lovable. Being acceptable, accepting our flaws without like judging ourselves or ridiculing ourselves or like trying to fix them right away.
Yes, for
I
sure.
think that's very important too. And I think that safety, when you have like that safety in self, it comes, that acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that completely sets the tone. That safety in self sets the tone for, and for relationships, but also a relationship isn't just romantic relationship. I think it's your relationship to everything. Your
Yeah.
relationship to food, to money, to work, to career, to like yourself. And that's the most foundational one, your relationship to self. When your relationship to self feels more like there's this acceptance, even if, like you said, that you don't feel like you're in mastery of self-love. However, you feel that safety and acceptance in yourself. And like that in itself is self-love, that's like the goal. And like I really do think that's the goal, to be like, I'm good as I am now, and I see where I can improve.
Yeah, we need that too, right? We
Yeah.
need to be able to, I want to work on myself. I want to see
Yeah.
the, where I can grow, where I can learn. I want to see, I love that. It is so much fun in that growth and that work, right? Yeah, but like also, I think what I used to do before was like, I'm not enough right now and I need to be this version of myself in the future. That's
Yes.
the goal. That's when I will be enough.
Yes.
And that never happens, right?
Yeah.
Even if we reach that, let's say there's something else we need to reach to, and it's just a never ending cycle of chase and running away from ourselves. I feel running away from like our bodies and how we truly feel about ourselves. So we're not like, I would not face how I had a lot of shame about myself, and I still get that. Like for me, shame, inner criticism, those are my patterns, like inner dialogue patterns, if you want to say, like that's how I can feel about myself. I can be very critical. I can be very like, I'm bad, 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 no matter what. But, and I'm then chasing goals. Like, I need to get this accomplishment to be enough
Mm.
that I will be a good person. I need to be this, so I will be good. But that's a never ending chase that never,
It totally is. Yeah. It's so
never.
relatable. Yeah.
Exactly. And when I'm able to like sit with myself and see, why am I even feeling bad about myself? Okay, this is what's up. Is it even true? Like, actually, no, it's just my own gunk that I just need to clear out and part my ways with now, you know?
Yes.
So that work I feel is like that happens for me when I have safety in myself, where I can like sit with myself and have that distance. I'm not bad, it's just a pattern that's playing out. What needs to be shifted here? And then do the work rather than go in that I need to get to this goal to be okay. I need to get to this next goal to be okay. Yeah.
Because you just mentioned that, of like getting the safety in yourself first and then doing this kind of like inquiry of, is this actually true?
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you earlier when you talked about working at the cognitive level versus working at the body level. I'm so curious with, let's take the example of affirmations. Is it possible? And if it is, what happens when we do the nervous system drills and then maybe combine it with something a little bit more cognitive, like affirmations? Is that a thing?
Yep, totally. I feel like so we do a little bit of cognitive work when we're shifting limiting beliefs, but when we're doing that cognitive work, we have a certain level of safety already in the body. So with my clients, like we already do some sessions before where we're just focusing on the safety, and then we go into like cognitive work. And even with the cognitive aspect, we first make sure that we are in that session. Let's say we first make sure we're safe in the body, and then we go towards, okay, what's happening, like with that inquiry thing. And then I help my clients to like come up with a belief that is more empowering to them. And again, throughout the session, we're checking in with the body to see, is that new belief that we're coming up with, is the body actually behind it or not? So
Mm.
if you have affirmations that your body and your nervous system is actually behind, doing the drills, doing that affirmation, it's very powerful. And like your body actually, so what's the problem with affirmation? Is like you are saying affirmations without knowing if that's the affirmation for you, especially if you're just in the
Mm.
cognitive. A lot of times what we're doing is we see, affirmations and where money loves me, and we're just repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. But how is your body feeling towards it? If your subconscious is like, money is bad, I never want to have money, and you're like, money loves me, money, and there is this conflict and disconnect that's happening, right? So that affirmation is actually not good for you in that point of time. So affirmations are good, but they need to come from the level of the body and the nervous system again, so your subconscious is not repelling the thing you're putting in. But if you find that affirmation, if you have this affirmations, if you have this belief that are actually pleasant to the body, doing them with the drills is actually very powerful. That's something I love. Like I have my affirmations, if you want to say, like my new beliefs that I have come up with. Again, like working with the body, like this is the belief that I want to shift. This is where I'm going. I love to look at them and repeat them while I'm doing my drills, and it's so good. I love it when I
Mm.
do it. And
Mm-hmm.
before, when I used to do affirmations in the past, I felt like, and they were not mine. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would get them from YouTube videos, or some course I did, and I'm repeating them, right? And it felt like it was painful. Like I was forcing myself. Like, when will I accept this? Why is it not working? I've said this 10 times. And there was this very icky energy that was happening. It was all because like my subconscious was like way on the other end. And I'm like, no, 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 come here, run. Why are you not running?
Yes.
What's wrong with you? It never worked for me, unfortunately. Yeah, like doing them in a way where your subconscious is actually accepting of them is very, very.
Yeah. So for anyone listening who has like lost faith in affirmations, do some nervous system regulation work first, and then maybe try the affirmations again and see if it works.
Yep. And even like doing the affirmation where you're doing, like we have this way when we're doing the drills, we can check if the drill was positive or negative. So doing the drill, checking after the drill, if the drill was negative, that means your body is not behind that affirmation. So you have like that clear cut way of knowing if it's working for you or not. Like through this work that we can like literally check and see, yeah, okay, this belief not good for me at this point of time. I will revisit it.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I've loved this conversation.
Me too.
Yeah. And I know this is a part 2, so I've already asked you the closing questions that I ask every guest in our last episode, but I'll just ask one of them to you again, just in case something different comes up. And that question is, what does self-love mean to you?
I love it. I remember you asked me last time. I don't remember my answer. But I think self-love, okay, I think the last time I said too, it's always changing for me, and it always is. So in this point of time, it's that self-acceptance, because right now, like so many changes are happening, and I noticed like I had this pattern of like trying to control the situation to keep myself safe, against a rebel pattern.
Yeah.
But now I'm leaning more into, now I'm gonna surrender, and I'm gonna choose how I am responding rather than controlling the situation. And with that, a lot of self acceptance, if you want to say, of where I am and where I'm going, and not trying to like control. So that is my self love. Like that's how I'm loving myself right now, by not controlling the situation anymore, and just going, not really going inside, but really surrendering. And in that surrender, I noticed like when I was trying to like control the situation, I was disconnecting with a higher power, God, universe, whatever you want to call. But now I'm leaning more into, now I'm safe. I'm gonna be safe. I'm going to figure this out. Like the thing you were saying with the, like when you're packing your bag and you're like, I'm okay. It's a messy situation, but I'm going to be okay. So having that I'm going to be okay, and connecting and surrendering to a higher power, for me, that's God. That's my version of self-love right now.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for people listening, where can they find you or online? Where can they connect with you? And tell us a little bit more about how they can work with you as well.
Amazing. So my website is sofiaejaz.com. So my website is sofiaejaz.com, SOFIAEJAZ.com. You can reach out to me there. And I'm very active on Facebook right now. I'm under the same name, Sofia Ejaz. I have my profile, and I also have my group that I think you're going to share the link in the notes. Yes. That you can definitely join in, where I talk more about nervous system regulation, how we can break survival patterns, how we can manage our triggers, how we can feel safe in the body, and so on and so forth. So, and we also, I'm starting like challenges now, like free challenges that you can like hop on. And I think right now the challenges are based around like rewiring the survival patterns and how we can take control like of our daily lives. I feel like we're out of control of our daily lives. Like forget about the future.
So what's the name of the group for the people listening?
The Rising Entrepreneur. So it's based around for business women, entrepreneurs. I feel like our stress loads are very high on the daily, because there's so many hats we're wearing, there's so many roles we're having to juggle. And a lot of, I feel, entrepreneurs are like rule breakers, and they already had like some, I don't want to say trouble, but like difficult, not even difficult. Like the stress buckets are usually higher. And so it's geared around those people who are like ambitious, rule breakers, who want to do things, who have tried things and have gotten stressed as a result of that. So it's for those people, and how you can, it's important to be daring, it's important to be courageous, it's important to take risks, but how we not like break our backs doing those things. Because I've broken down so many times in my journey, because I'm that person. I'm breaking rules, I'm questioning the norms, I'm questioning the status quo. So when you're doing that, it's important to keep doing that while being regulated, so we don't, let our stress buckets rise and go into a shutdown like I did, or something worse, God forbid. Mm-hmm. So it's for those people. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
In a nutshell. Not really.
Did you say people with no chill?
People with no chill?
Is that what you said?
No, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Like this feel, and I was like, in a nutshell, it's this.
I thought you said it's for people with no chill.
It can be that too, actually, yeah. I look at very much no BS, strategy going on. Like, yeah. I'm very straightforward, right? And I don't like BS, so yeah, no chills can come to. I think they will enjoy this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for that question.
Yeah. Thanks for being back on the show for a second time.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me again. And it was such an awesome ride. It's always fun to talk with you.